What is going on, Nathan Valley? How you doing, brother?
Whoa, my man. Dude, I'm always doing fantastic.
I
Come
love
on
it.
now.
Dude, we're about to talk about one of my favorite things to talk about, and it's how to analyze a wholesale deal. Okay. So there's a lot of deals that come across my desk, a lot of deals that you've seen. You actually were looking at a couple today,
Yeah.
and the biggest question is it a deal? Is it something that's worth looking at? Now, I know everybody that has been in wholesaling for a while or real estate investing, that's the golden question, right? So that's what we're going to be answering today. If you don't know who I am, my name's Nathan Payne. I've been in the business for 7 years now, done hundreds of deals. And one of the most important things is knowing what a deal is, because you don't want to lose money, especially, well, in wholesaling, you can't really lose money because you never own the property. But if you fix and flip, you can lose money, which I've lost money and I've made money. But anyway, that's what we're going to be going over today. That's who I am, Nathan Valley. Who are you?
Yeah, guys, my name's Nathan Valley. Done a bunch of deals, bunch of different states, known for locking up over 100 contracts in a single year. Some of you guys might have seen a 30-day challenge I did a while ago to where I picked totally brand new market, no contacts, no resources, nothing. And my goal was to do a deal in 30 days. And I did a $20,000 deal without spending any money on marketing. And I only worked on it two to 3 hours a day, Monday through Friday. So that was pretty cool.
That is impressive.
And one thing I will say about how to analyze a property, guys, do not skip this video. You're going to want to watch, because I promise you, every other video, the PDF, the resource, the PDF, whatever it is you downloaded from somewhere else, I promise you it's wrong. I'll explain to you why it's wrong.
Right.
And this will change your life.
Yeah. And I know we talk about this a lot, but guys, this is really important, because if you don't know how to analyze a wholesale deal, you could be passing up on a lot of good opportunities. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of services out there that kind of give you they do an algorithm, right? They kind of tell you what they believe the property is worth. Now, we love batch leads. We like using batch leads. And if you go to batch leads and you click on, if you type in, let's just say type in any address, right? I can type in my address. Let's see. 8293. Okay. So if you type in an address, you can click on the property once it searches it, and it will give you an idea of where you need to be. Now, I like using these tools as an idea, right? Like, I never use these things as being like, okay, this is the gospel. This is exactly what my house is worth. Same with Zillow. I mean, you name it. Redfin, doesn't matter. You use them as like a base, right? But if any of you guys are just saying this is what my house was, I'm sure nobody's doing that. But anyway, that's what you can do. You can click on it. And guys, you know what's really interesting? I'm actually selling my house, and yeah, it's already super accurate. It says what I've listed the house for, and the estimated value that's right here. It's this is why you don't want to go off of just specific estimated values. I'm not saying the batch is bad, but they're just going off of the data in the area. I listed my house for $649. It's sold, under contract. Due diligence is over. But Zillow, all the properties and the services in the area are saying it's around $553. That's $100,000 off. And that, again, that's not their problem. It's just the data. That's what the data is saying. But when you live in a neighborhood that's a lot different than the surrounding areas, and it pulls all that information, right, and gives I don't know if it's like an average or whatever, but it can be off. So you definitely don't want to just base everything off that. Nathan, do you have anything you want to say?
Yeah, I was just gonna add to it. Again, it's not it's not the algorithm's fault, guys. Right? Cut it some slack. No, it's with real estate, guy. Real estate is hyper local, and the beautiful thing about it is that's where there's an opportunity for you, me, and us investors, is because there's a lot of things to where a computer, AI, the algorithm, whatever. There's a lot of things that it can't take into account, and that's why you can't always trust 100%, or you need to verify or double check or whatever the case may be as far as the values and when analyzing a property. Because there are some perfect example. There was a house that we flipped years ago to where something as small as we had trouble selling it because when people pulled into the driveway, the fence was too close to the driveway. And so when you opened up your door, the door would touch the fence.
Ooh.
Seems so minor, right? Might seem, or maybe not, depending who's listening. Guys, that was a major issue as to why we couldn't sell the house for the price that, when we looked up and down as to why. And there's no algorithm that can necessarily see that, right? It can
Right.
calculate square footage, beds, baths, and maybe average price per square foot, but there's still going to be factors that it can't take into account. Or they're not good enough yet to tell you, hey, this house is like an awkward layout.
Right.
Got this one issue, or hey, it's got this neighbor over here or that, or whatever the case may be. And that's why nobody's going to be able to analyze a property as good as you.
So Nathan, now that you've answered really well, that it's good to have these tools to give you an idea, and you can look at data, but it requires skill set to dive in and see, to really analyze a wholesale deal, whether you're a flipper and you're going to buy it yourself, or if you're a wholesaler trying to make the right offer to the seller. How do you do it then? How are you going to be able to analyze a wholesale deal in order to wholesale it to a flipper?
Yeah, so there's a couple things that I'm going to do. In the simplest answer that I can give is, when you're looking to analyze a property, it's not here's the hard set numbers and it's a fact that it's for this price. You're building an argument, right? Think of it like you're going to court and you're building a case, and you're trying to find as much evidence as you can to support your case that it will sell for this price if you do X, Y, and Z to it. Right. And on the flip side, just like any good attorney, you're also going to want to know, hey, when I talk to my buyers, what's the evidence? What are the things they're going to bring up to argue against my case? And I want to be prepared for both of that. Right. So that's kind of how you want to go into it. This is, analyzing property is not a firm science, but there is one thing that is more important than all of that. All of that's really great, but there's only one person that can tell me what this property's worth.
Who is it?
It's the person that's buying it.
That's right.
So guys, the buyer is the most important person when knowing, hey, what's the value of this property? What's the ARV? What's the rehab? There is nobody that can give you a better answer than the buyer themselves, because they're the one buying it, right?
It's true.
The value of a property, what it could sell for, it doesn't really matter what I think. All that matters is what they think, because they're the one buying it. Yes, there's, there's some information. Yes, there is some evidence, but guys, a lot really comes down to the buyer, because what a property's worth, that the ARV, what it could sell for, how to analyze it, what someone's able to pay, that can change drastically depending on who the buyer is and what they're planning to do with the property. And guys, I know you've heard stories of, where you'll have a deal and one buyer will look at it and they'll have an offer price down here, and they'll end up selling the deal to somebody all the way up here. Or I remember when I used to go to way back in the day in RIA meetups, I remember chatting with guys, and there's a bunch of us that weren't really doing many deals or any deals at all. And we'd be like, man, can you believe this sucker just paid this price for that property? Or, someone just paid this price for that property. Because like, we were all upset, they didn't get the deal, or we didn't get the deal, or whatever. And so we're like, man, how could they have done that? Well, the reality is we don't know their business, right? We don't know the ins and outs. We don't know what they're planning to do with the property or all of that. And so rather than scoffing, well, guys, take a step back and say, hey, there's something to learn here. Maybe they have more than one way to profit on this property. Maybe they were going to do something else. Maybe they know something I don't know, or maybe they see something that I don't see. But again, the only person that I can get the answer from is the buyer.
I love it. So how can you get that information from the buyer, especially if you don't have the house under contract, or if you what is the process? Let's help people find that out. Let's let them know a little bit of how we do things, and how to operate the best way, the most ethical way, in my opinion.
Yeah, love it. So let's say I've got I'm talking to a seller at the world renowned 123 Main Street. Right. So I'm talking to Mr. and Ms. Seller of 123 Main Street, and they're like, hey, I want $200,000 for my house. I'm like, okay. Right. And with wholesaling, guys, what's 99% of wholesaling? You look, you try to crunch some numbers, and you end up with, it might be a deal if the ARV's here and the rehab's only this much, but it might not be a deal if the ARV's really only here and the rehab's really this much.
Right. Unless you get the property at such a discount right? But that like 50% of batch leads, estimate or Zillow estimate, but that's doesn't happen very often.
Even that's not always accurate. I'm speaking from experience,
That's
but
true. Yeah, it depends what market you're in.
so I talk with Mr. and Ms. Seller, right? They want 200,000. Okay, well, I don't know. It might be a deal, might not. I'm not too sure. So what do I do next? Well, great. I'm going to look at, I start with local buyers, right? Buyers that are local to that area, that neighborhood.
And
And
hopefully you have these relationships already.
right. Or you have the relationships already. And basically, I'm going to have the conversation with the buyer and say, hey, Mr. Ms. Buyer, cash buyer, I saw you did a flip over here on 456 Main Street.
Right.
I've got one right around the corner that I'm currently negotiating. Would you be interested in another flip in this neighborhood? And they say yes, right? Because they're an investor and they want to make more money and they've already done deals in this neighborhood. So nobody's going to be more familiar with it than them. So the chances of them being your best buyer, really high. So from there,
Just
I'm
real
going to say,
quick,
great.
Nate, real quick.
Yeah.
The cool thing with batch and a lot of these softwares out there is you can find out who those buyers are who bought a transaction cash within the last 90 days, a year. So that's what we're talking about. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. And so Mr. and Ms. Seller said they want 200 cash for their home. So I'm going to tell Mr. Buyer, yeah, I've got this property over at 123 Main Street that I'm currently negotiating. The seller, they really want to get around, and this is going to depend on the situation, right? But I might say, yeah, they really want to get 220 for it. Is that something that you'd be able to make work? Now, guys, a lot of the times, especially if you're brand new, the buyer might come back and be like, oh my gosh, 220, that's a ridiculous price, blah, 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 blah. Right. I'm going to say, hey, totally get it. Totally understand. No, I agree with you. What price would you be able to pay? And they're
That's
like, dude, I need this thing all the way down at like 130. Right. And you're like, okay, got it. Is there any ammo that you can give me that I can bring to the sellers to help get it down to that price that you need? And so now I'm going to get the buyer to tell me, hey, what's the specific like expert rehab, whatever, right? Because I don't know if you guys like me, I don't know much with swinging a hammer, right? Don't ask me questions on rehab.
right.
I'm not your guy for that.
And by the way, guys, if you are wholesaling, you're not rehabbers. Okay. You don't need to know all these things. A lot of people want to like get all this information. Don't leave that to the experts. Just ask the people that you're going to work with.
Exactly. And so now I get the buyer to tell me, hey, what specifically is wrong? Why specifically do I need it at this price? And now I have something to go back to the sellers with. And the thing is, guys, is whatever price that buyer gives you, 9 times out of 10, there's a lot of room that he can come up, right? If he tells me 130, he can probably actually pay 150, maybe even 160, 170. You'd be surprised. But the thing is now right? So I'm not wondering what if. I'm not, getting a seller under contract with something that I don't know if I can sell or not. And guys, when you have this conversation of the biggest kind of, wait, but Nate, won't the buyer steal the deal from you? Guys, I don't know. I don't know when kind of like the whole thing got started with that buyers are just like thieves that try to like steal every deal from you. I've done a lot of deals. I've yet to have a buyer steal a deal from me, like behind my back, right? Not saying it can't happen, but if now, here's the other thing. I don't do email blasts. All right. That's right, like a big asterisk. The way I work with buyers is I'm getting on the phone and having a personal conversation with them. All right. Quality over quantity. I don't need a list of 10,000 buyers. I just need to talk to the 2 or 3 perfect ones. And you guys can do the same thing. And so now, rather than guessing, rather than taking the seller's livelihood and their home and everything, rather than risking all of that and putting them in a situation that they don't fully understand, nor are they really signing up for it. All right. Because most wholesalers aren't explaining to the sellers that they're wholesaling it, which I don't agree with. But now when you do make commitments to the sellers, one, there's a way you can be transparent and tell them, hey, it's another buyer buying it. But two, when you're making these commitments, you already know up front that you can 100% fulfill on it. Imagine how much more confidence you would have in wholesaling, knowing that every offer you make, you can 100% stand behind. You can 100% fulfill on. Imagine how much easier this business gets when you don't have to guess anymore. That's the
That's
power
good.
of what we're talking about today.
Yeah. So for everybody that's watching this, if you're like, man, I don't know how to do that, that's okay. That's completely fine. We do make a lot of videos on how to do it, or you can go to painlessflipping.com and we'll literally show you how to do it. We'll teach you how to do it so you don't have to figure it out all yourself. Right. But basically, that's my suggestion for analyzing a deal. A lot of people are going to give you 70% of ARV minus rehab minus your wholesale fee. That you're going to miss out on a lot of deals that way. Why do they give that formula out? Because if you get a deal at that low of a price, it's always a deal, right? Of course it's a deal. You're getting it like for $200,000 off usually. But listen, this is a better way to do it. You can make way more money, and it's just easier. It makes the process easier. You don't have to make landing pages for everything. You don't have to go email blast. So anyway,
I
that's
had a
what we
perfect,
talk.
yeah. I'll just wrap it with an example from today. There was somebody I was chatting with earlier today, to where she had a lead. She's like, I I have no clue what to do with this, but I know the seller's motivated. It's like an outdated house, but it sits on 40 acres, and like strawberry farmers lease like half of it. And it's just like a super weird property. She's like, I don't know if it's a deal or not. The guy inherited it. He sounds motivated, right? Well, number one, who are we going to sell it to? Right? That's the number one question. Who are we going to sell it to? And what the heck is this thing worth? Right? So step number one is, well, I got to find people that would be interested in this type of property. And then step number two, I'm going to get them to tell me what price they need it at. Right? And as wholesalers, right, this is where marketing and negotiating come into play. Negotiating, that's why, the way I negotiate, my number one goal is not to give a certain price, but I want to find out what is the person's rock bottom number. And, if that's able to work, great. If not, we do what we can to make it work. But we always want to see how low can we get it for. But then from there, also, that's coupled with, I'm going to find the buyer for this property, and I'm just going to have them tell me what it's worth, or what it's worth to them. I'm going to have them tell me what to offer. I'm going to have them tell me why I can only offer this price and why it's not worth that number and why it's really only worth this. Because I don't know anything about strawberry farms or this or that or the other thing.
When you say that, I'm just like, are we in the right
what?
area? Are we in the right market? That's something else that I would say, guys, is like, just make sure if you're not succeeding that you're in the right market. Now, if you don't know if you're in the right market, we do have a Facebook group that helps you in the guide section. It teaches you exactly how to know what market to go to. It's just to make sure you're even in the right place. But anyway, that's so important.
Yeah, and fortunately for this one, I don't think market was the issue. It was just, very different. Like, it's not a standard single family house. It's like kind of a unique property. And so, but what I do know how to do, right, and which is what I kind of the direction I pointed her in was, I said, hey, here's how to find the experts. Here's the conversation you're going to have with those experts, and here's how you're going to get them to tell you the exact answers that you need to know. Right. Sure. And so you don't need to spend days or weeks trying to comp and this and that and figure out values. Guys, you can have a 5-minute conversation and have somebody much smarter than me, tell you exactly what the answer is.
Yeah, and they're going to pay. They're going to be
a lot
paying.
more effective too.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, guys, that's how to analyze a wholesale deal broken down quickly. And, go out there, have conversations with buyers that are actually going to be buying your properties. And if you guys are watching this live, we appreciate you. Just comment where you're watching from so we can network. And if you're not watching this live, leave us a comment. Let us know how you think, what we said. If you like it, share this. This actually helps us get in front of more people. But if you are interested in working with us or learning how to get into this and you feel overwhelmed with the wholesaling process, go to painlessflipping.com. That's our goal, is to make this a less painful experience. if you want to get into real estate, you're going to have to go through some pain. You got to learn, you got to grow, but we take the pain, as much pain as we can out of the process. So
I think we take all the pain out of the process. Yeah, just to reiterate that, guys, we do the hardest parts for you. It's not like just the coaching thing. It's more of a done for you service. And then, we'll coach you on the stuff that you need help with. But it allows you, imagine, take that strawberry farm deal, right? Imagine I told you exactly what to do. And then also I made those calls for you and negotiated it for you, and then found the buyer for you, negotiated with the buyer for you, and handled all the paperwork for you.
And you still got
wholesaling sounds a lot easier then, doesn't it? So guys, that's what we do in a nutshell.
And you still get paid too.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Cool.
So,
all right, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in, and we will catch you on the next one. But hold on. We got some people coming in saying we got Rhode Island here over here. Well, Rhode Island. Let's go, Delhi. All right, everybody. Later,
guys.